to Maths Live, although this is obviously a Maths Not Live lesson. It's great to be back. It's weird to be back. I've had to put all the stuff out again. I've had to put the bunting back and the picture frame back and the board back. This room is a spare guest room, and it did go back to being beautifully ready for guests, and we had some guests staying over, but now it's gone back to Steph's Maths Live office. So, but I'm very happy to be back. It's well worth putting everything back. I feel strangely at home again after all those weeks, after those 17 weeks at the beginning of lockdown. I'm here again, not only just to warm up before the end of August, because obviously, as you know, the last week of August, we're going to start going back into Maths Live, warming up before, fingers crossed, we go back to school. I'm also doing this lesson as data lesson, introducing data and starting with pictograms and tally charts. Why I'm doing this is because I've been doing a few Zoom lessons with small groups covering, it's called basically when a whiteboard isn't enough, and obviously you know that 17 weeks I did all these different topics covering the whole maths curriculum, apart from some topics where it's quite hard to draw on the board, for example with coordinates and what we've been doing, reflection and translation, they're quite hard to do on a board like this. So I've been doing them in small group lessons via Zoom. But this one I wanted to have a go at on here because I want it to be available to everyone, and it sort of creeps actually back into Key Stage 1. So if you're wanting your child to join in and you think maybe you're a bit young, this might be a good one for them. It's definitely a good refresher for those of you in Key Stage 2, because data is a really, really important topic that, you know, it covers all areas of the curriculum, because you'll be using all sorts of calculation elements to be able to use data. But it'll go right into Key Stage 3. And remember, adults use data in all their life, especially teachers. We've got so much data to use, comparing and analysing and looking at the biggest and the smallest and the gaps. So it's incredibly important. So, and I thought it's a nice one to start with in the warm-up to the new term. So we're going to be looking at pictograms and tallies today. I'll say straight away near the beginning that this lesson involves a worksheet, so you will need to have a worksheet ready for this lesson. If you haven't got it, if you look at the link either on the Facebook page where I'm going to put this on, or just even if you're on YouTube, you'll see there's a link in the description and it'll take you to my Google Drive where you're able to download and print off and use the worksheet. So you will have already done the worksheet. If you haven't already done it, pause, come back, have a go at it, because then I'm going to go through the answers. This beginning bit, I'm going to obviously explain, as I normally do, what the topic's about and the focus is, and then I'll come into the answers and you'll be able to check off if you got it right or if you need to work on anything. So, brilliant. So we'll start with pictograms. What are pictograms? There's the clue in the word pict, and gram. Now obviously when we're talking about diagrams, well, I've just said it there, diagrams and graphs, that's the half of the word, and then picto is picture. So it's basically pictures that are involved in using in a graph. For example, I might think about, maybe I've got an orchard, okay? Maybe it always happens. Maybe I've got an orchard and I've got 5 trees in this orchard. Okay, so I'm going to have these are my trees. Oh, can't spell. You'll have to bear with me. I'm obviously a bit rusty not doing Maths Live for a while. So these are my trees. And remember, we use a lot of charts when we're doing data. So there's tree 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm just going to check that I'm still on the board. I am still on the board. Brilliant. Tree 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to go across. So this is why it's quite tricky to do this in a Maths Live lesson, because I have to do quite a bit of drawing. So you'll have to bear with me while I do this. And this bit, it'll be number of apples. Number of apples. So I've got my orchard and there's 5 trees in my orchard. And when it comes to them being ripe enough to pick, which is about now, funnily enough, I'm going to count how many apples have been counted. But I'm going to use pictures. So I could say, right, for every apple that's drawn, it could be 1 apple picture equals 1 apple. Okay, but I want to show you different elements of that. You don't just have to have one single object representing 1. I could have an apple, a picture of an apple which represents 2 apples. Okay, you'll see why in a minute. You could have a picture of an apple that represents 6 apples. This is called a key. So you can decide what is the best representation for your diagram. If, for example, you have, say, one of these answers is going to be 30, you don't really want to have 1 apple is 1 apple, literally, because you'd have to draw 30 apples, and that'll take quite a long time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1 apple is 4. So a drawing of an apple represents 4 apples grown. So on tree 1, I'm going to say there is this many apples grown. Okay, now I'm going to tell straight away that this means there's 4, we count up in 4s, 4, 8, 12. So that means there was 12 apples grown. If you were doing this at school, you wouldn't necessarily be told the answer, you'd have to work it out, but I want to explain this to you. On tree 2 didn't have a great time. There was two pictures, that's 4 and 8. So there was 8 apples on tree 2. Now, tree 3 was very, very happy. So how many apples grew on tree 3? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. 28 apples on apple 3. On tree 3. Oh dear. Right, here's tree 4. Now watch this. What have I done here? Now, you might think, well, Steph, you didn't finish the apple. You didn't finish the apple. If you're drawing an apple, you need to draw a whole apple. Not with pictograms, you don't. You can cut the object into halves, sometimes into quarters. So if I've got 2.5 apples, that means I've got 4, 8, and then what's half of 4? What would half an apple represent? So what's half of 4? That would be 2. So in this tree, I've got 4, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then the last one. And again, just to show you, that's quite a big half an apple. So I've definitely got half there. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18. So just because one whole apple represents a number, it doesn't mean that you can have a half or a quarter. You could. So I'm going to draw a whole apple. So if you see that, that would mean a quarter of an apple that's been split into quarters. That would be 1. But that's normally higher level. That's normally going into year 6. Okay? So here's my data. Here are my answers. In this one, I've given you the numbers. But normally, you'd only be shown the pictogram itself, and then you would be given questions to analyse, to look at, to make sure you're able to understand the pictogram. So if you weren't given the answers, the first thing I would do is count them all and write all the numbers. You'll see it in the next one that I do. And you might be asked questions like, which tree grew the most apples? Well, Here we go. I can see that it was tree 3 that grew the most apples. Which tree grew the least apples? Tree 2 grew the least apples. You might be asked a question like, how many more apples did tree 5 grow than tree 1? So how many more grew on tree 5 than tree 1? Well, tree 5 grew 18, tree 1 grew 12. So what's the difference between 18 and 12? You could do 18 take away 12, or you could count up from 12 to 18. So that would be 6. You get always, there's a question about how many more or how many less. So that's the comparison. Right. What I'm going to try and do is just rub out this bit and keep my very, very rough outline of my diagram. There we go. So the next one, as an example, I'm going to say number of pencils. Number of pencils. And I'm going to put a table. And this chart is to show the number of pencils on tables in a classroom. So by the end of the week, I'm going to look at how many pencils each table has. I thought of this one because I know as a teacher that some tables, you're just very good at losing pencils, aren't you? So I thought this would be a fun one in case, as a teacher. So we've got, again, table, maybe it's not even a number, it could be red table, blue table, but I'm just going to stick to the numbers. You could get a variety. So table 5. Now, number of pencils. It might be that, so I'm going to draw a pencil. And in this case, I'm going to say that a picture of a pencil is, I'm going to say 6 pencils. So a whole pencil, that diagram, that picture of the pencil, one pencil represents 6. Okay, so now I'm going to fill in my table. You might want to count with me as I'm drawing. Now, obviously on a piece of paper, the pictures would be a lot neater, but obviously I've got to rush. And you should draw, if you ever asked to do a pictogram, try and make it as neat as possible. And the last one. These are looking more like houses than a pencil. I don't know why they've turned from a pencil into a sort of a mushroom. Okay, so here's my table. Remember the question was how many pencils were left on each table at the end of the week. So I've got 5 tables in my classroom, and here are the number of pencils I found after school on a Friday. So there will be questions at the bottom of the page, but I ignore the questions at the start. First of all, I analyse. That's a posh word. It means it's the posh word for look at. I'm going to analyse my table, and before I do any of the questions, I'm going to find out the numbers. So table 1, they've got, it's a pictogram shows 3, but it's not 3 pencils. It's 3 lot of 6. So 6, 12, 18. So there was 18 on table 1. Table 2, so 1, 6, 6, 2, 6, 12, 3, 6 are 18, 4, 6 are 24, 5, 6 is 30. How many on table 3? Now, 6, 12, but that's half a pencil. I know it's quite a small drawing, but I've drawn half a pencil there. So you've got to think, what's half? If I've drawn half a pencil, what does half mean? That means 3, because half of 6 is 3. So 6, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 15 on here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, 6 sevens are 42. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now 5 sixes are 30, but there's another half of a pencil. So that's 33. Now, because I've done this bit, I'm ready for whatever question is thrown at me. So question 1 might be, which table had the most pencils by the end of the week? Oh, table 4. Table 4 was superb with looking after their pencils. Which table was not so good at looking after their pencils? Which table had the least pencils by the end of the week? Table 3, they've got less than half. What happened to table 3? Maybe they lent them to table 4. How many more pencils are on table 5 than table 2? So I go to table 5, there's 33 pencils. Go to table 2, there's 30. So how many more do table 5 have than table 2? They have 3 more because it's 33 to 30. Another question could be, how many pencils were left in the classroom all together? We know all together means you have to find the total, so you have to add them all up. So you would add 18, 30, 15, 42, 33, and that would be your answer. Okay, now, if you have got your question sheet, it looks something like this. So you've got 3 questions. And question 1 was a pictogram to show the money raised for children in need. And our pictogram was represented by Pudsey the bear. So you had class 1. I'm not going to draw the pictogram. This is where I go through the answers. So class it was 1, 2, 3, and 4. And every picture of Pudsey, now I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to draw just... There's my bear. So for every full Pudsey, for every whole Pudsey, that represented £2. So that's my key. Every full Pudsey represented £2. So you don't have... So you might have checked how many there were. If you did check how many there were, class 1, there was 2, 4, 6, 7. For class 2, there was 2, 4, 6, 8. It was 9. Because on class 1 and class 2 and class 3, there is half a Pudsey, which means it means 1. Class 3, there were 2, 4, 6, 7 as well. And class 4, there was what? There's lots. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So this is how much these were in pounds. So question 1 asked, how much money did class 4 raise for children in need? Well, there you go. Class 4 raised £14. So well done if you got £14 for your answer. How much money did class 1 raise for children in need? Class 1 raised £7. Well done if you got that in your answer. Now then, question 3. How much more money did class 2 raise than class 3? So class 2 raised £9. Class 3 raised £7. That means they raised £2 more. So if you got £2 for question 3, well done. Right. On to question 2, part 2, I should say. This part was about football. It says number of people at a football club. So we have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5. So this is the weeks. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then it was number of people. So it's called number of people. Right. And now then, if you have to look very carefully at the chart, because one football, hope you spotted how much one football or cookie, if you're Steph's drawing it, that represented 20 people. So a whole football this time was 20 people. So let's go through. I'm going to go through how many were in on each week. So week 1, now there's 2 whole footballs, but there's also this. Now what does that mean? Now what does it look like first of all? Can you see that if a football is split into 4 parts, okay, that means it's 4 quarters. So if you take off 1 part, that is 3 quarters left. So let's work out what is, if I put this up here, if a whole football is 20, then half a football must be 10. And therefore, a quarter of a football must be 5. Therefore, 3 quarters of a football is 5, 10, 15. Okay. The next one was 3 whole footballs. Week 3 was 1, 2, 3 and a quarter football. Week 4 is 2 footballs. And week 5, 1, 2, 3 and a half. Right, so let's find out. Remember, don't look at the questions. Analyse the table first. So week 1, let's find out the number of people. So 1 whole football is 20. So 20, 40, and then you've got the 15. So 20, 40, that's 55 people. 55 people went to football in week 1. Now, so that's 20, 20 and 20. 20, 40, so that's 60 week 2. So that's 20, 20, 20, and then the quarter. The quarter is 5, so 20, 40, 60, 65. Not many people went on week 4. So that's only 40. And then we've got 20, 20, 20 and a half, which is 10. So 20, 40, 60, 70. Right, you've analysed the chart. Now let's look at the questions. How many people played at the club in week 2? Well, that's easy. I've already done all the work. 60. So well done if you got 60 for question 1. How many people does half a football represent? We've already done that. 10 people. So remember, it's not just don't just put 10 people. How many people does a quarter of a football represent? 5. We already did that. How many people played football across the week? So how many across the week? So that means you need to add 55, 60, 65, 40 and 70. Oh, Steph's got to do this in her head now. So we've got 0 and a 10 because there's 2 5s. So we've got 11, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So that is 290. I'm going to check that again. So I've got my 1 there. So I've got my 0, my 1. And then this, why I'm doing that is because I've got 5 and 5, which I know is 10, so I'm carrying it across. So we've got, 5, so that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So that's how good to do good mental maths, is to look at your 1s first and then look at your 10s. So 290 people across the whole week. I double check now. After those last couple of weeks when I was getting a bit tired of Maths Live, I have to double check to make sure, because I don't want you to give you the wrong answers. Okay. The last question for the pictograms was, and then I'll get on to the tallies. So I'm making a pictogram of all the ice creams I've eaten. Can you help to finish it? I'm just going to go through quickly through the answers for this. So each ice cream cone. That's better. Each ice cream cone is 10. So that means, oh, and it told you actually this time. It told you that if it didn't have any ice cream in it, that was 5. And if it didn't have the top of the cone, that was 1. So it's, first of all, can you help finish it? So for August, so we've got April, May, June and July are all done for you. So how many are in April? So we've got April, May, June, July, August, September. So in April, there is 10, 20, 30, 32. So if you got 32 for April, well done. In May, there is 36. So just be careful with the different cone types. In June, there is 10, 20, 30, 40, 45. And in July, there's 10, 20, 25. And then for August, it's giving you the numbers and you had to draw it on the pictogram. So you should have drawn a whole ice cream cone because that represents 10. You should have drawn an ice cream cone with the top on, but not the whole ice cream. And then because it's 17, you needed 2 ones. So that's what it should look like. A whole ice cream, an ice cream with the part top on, an ice cream with just the bottom cones. And in September, there was 22. So you need to draw 2 whole ice creams. And then you need to do 1, 2, like that. So if you got all those, well done. Right, first question was complete the chart. You've done that. Second question was, in which month were the most ice creams eaten? So here we've got, that was 17. And that was 22. We were already told that. So, June. 45 were sold in June. So that's the answer. In which month were the least ice creams eaten? So we've got 32, 36, 45, 25, August. 17, only 17 in August. That's quite funny given it's normally one of the hottest months. How many more ice creams were eaten in May than August? So we have to do 36, take away 17. So that's 9. So 19. 19 more were eaten in May than August. It is discovered that 25 more ice creams were secretly eaten in July. Can you correct the pictogram chart to show this? Ooh, what would you do? 25 more ice creams. So let's focus, let's go to July. So this is what we already had in July. So we had 1, 2, and then we had that top half of the ice cream. And we need to add 25. Now, can you see that we've already got 25? So we can complete the other 5 like that. So I've got rid of my 5 because I put a top on to make it 10. And then you just need to add 2 more whole ice creams. So at the end, your chart should look like this for July. 5 ice creams. Okay? Right, that is pictograms finished. So I hope that was okay, I hope that was helpful. We're now going to move on to tally charts. Right, what is a tally chart? I love tally charts because, I don't know, it's like a bit like Roman numerals in a way. It's you've got to interpret what you're given. Now, the most important rule for a tally chart is this. 5. 1 is 1, just like Roman numerals. 2 is 2. 3, funnily enough, is 3. 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is 5, okay? Now, be careful. I think I've done this quickly in another video. It's not this. Okay, you have to keep it uniform, equally spaced, try and be as neat as possible. Why they did 5 like that is to show clear grouping. So if you had a tally chart with lots and lots of data, rather than counting all the ones forever, putting the cross through, put it into groups of 5, so you're able to count up in 5s where needed to. So that's the most important part. So I'm just going to go really through the answers to the tally chart. Again, this is another one that is available for you to download and have a go before the lesson, and then we'll go through the answers. So the first one was animals. So you had different animals. And you had the tally chart. So I'll talk through this one a bit more and I'll give you the answers for the rest. So we have a tiger. We have a giraffe, my favourite animal. We have an elephant. And we have a deer. Again, I'm not being the neatest. Right, and here's the tally. So we've got how many tally marks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the tiger. That's what's drawn on the table. For the giraffe. And then for the elephant. And then for the deer. And then we have the questions. But again, I love to analyse the chart before I answer any questions. I've got all the tallies complete, so I'm going to first of all interpret them. So I know that 5 is 5, so I've got 5, 10, 15. So there's 15 tigers. 5, 6, 7. Here, 5, 6, 7 again, let's check that. And then the deer, 5, 10, and then 1, which is 11. Right, bring on the questions. How many giraffes are there? Oh, there we go, already done it, 7. How many deer are there? There we go, 11. How many more tigers are there than elephants? Right, well there's 15 tigers, 7 elephants, so let's find out the difference. So I'll count up from 7 to 15. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there are 8 more tigers than elephants. Can you see, just by analysing it first, you've got all those answers ready. I know some, it's like when you're doing reading comprehension, you're always told to read the text first to get all the information you need rather than just jumping into the questions and having no idea what the text is about. It's very, very similar with data. Understand the data before you answer the questions. Right, question 2 was, superheroes. So you have a table which says Superman, Batman, Iron Man, Spider-Man and Wolfman. And again, we don't need to be, with pictograms, obviously we had a key telling us how much each picture was worth or much half a picture, but we know tallies straight away. The cross through is 5, sorted. So I'm just going to read out the answers for this. So how many people chose Batman as their favourite character? So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So for question 1, if you got 30, you are correct, counting up from 5s. For question 2, how many people chose Iron Man as their favourite character? So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 25 people chose Iron Man. Question 3, how many more people choose Spider-Man than Superman? Okay, so Spider-Man is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And then Superman is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So the difference is 5. So 5 more people chose Spider-Man than Superman. And the last question is, the tally for Wolfman was counted incorrectly. The total should be 30. Can you add in the missing tallies? So Wolfman had 5, 10, 15, 20. This is what it looks like. So 5, 10, 15, 20, that's what it looked like on the chart. And the total should have been 30. So how do we change this tally to make 30? Well, the difference between 20 and 30 is 10. So you need to add another 2 groups of 5. And that will be your answer. And the last question, tally pond animals. So for the first part, you are asked to be the pond watchers and look at the picture and spot all the pond animals. So you are asked to find the tallies for the fish, for the ducks, and the frogs. So you have to count across and find out how many are. So let's have a look. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 fish. How many ducks are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Not a lot of ducks. And how many frogs are there? There's a lot more frogs. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for that first question, you need to make sure your tallies were correct. So check, make sure your tallies were correct. A good way to do it, by the way, is when you're counting, you could cross them out as you're counting to help you to make sure you don't miscount. Question 1, complete tally chart. Done. Question 2, how many ducks are in the pond? Oh, well, you already did that. 4. How many frogs are in the pond? Question 3, 9. 3 more fish are spotted in the pond. They were hiding. 3 more fish are spotted in the pond. Correct the tally chart to show this. Right, so here's the fish, and there's 3 more, so I need to add 3. Now be careful. So you go 1, 2, but then can you see that's made 4, so you need to then cross that through. So that's what it should have been corrected as when you add it on. Right, there we go. We have had a beginner's guide to pictograms and tally charts. This is aimed, again, I think it's sort of middle, sort of lower key stage 2, possibly with some of the questions going into middle key stage 2. This is an introduction to data using these kind of charts. Obviously we have bar charts, we have pie charts, we have line graphs, there's all sorts of charts. So if you are going to take part in my data lesson, you'll be learning all about those, and that's definitely going into more upper, sort of middle to upper key stage 2. But if you just wanted to learn about pictograms and tally charts, amazing. I'll see you properly for Maths Live at the end of August. So thank you for joining in.